Hi, I'm Dominique and I'm a commercial tailor with Bone Tailoring. The holiday season has lots of parties, and this simple trick can help you take a dress you found at a thrift store into your go-to. Sometimes you can cheat by wearing a push-up bra, but sometimes you need to get it tailored, and then you can focus on more important things, like your dance moves. Have a friend help you pin so you know how much to take in. I've been sewing my whole life and worked as a professional tailor for over 10 years, and it's just easier to get help. It's helpful to pull the same amount from the front and the back and pin on the seam itself. Another thing that might make it easier is pinning with safety pins. Once you have the measurements of how much to take in, make some notes and adjust the pins. So I like to put the pins just through the outside layer, so that way they're still in the fabric, showing you where the mark is, but you can open it up and start working on the inside. Start by opening up the lining at the waistband where it's connected to the dress. So this is our side seam. We're going to open up to get up into the bodice. As I moved into professional tailoring, I was taught to use razor blades instead of seam rippers. They can be a lot faster, and on set that's important, but a seam ripper does the job just as well if you're more comfortable with one of those. It's most important not to cut holes. Then you'll need to open the waist and the armhole seams of both the dress and the liner. And then we're going to detach the lining and the dress at the armhole. And at the waistband. Now that you have your seams exposed, mark the measurements you took with chalk. And this is my favorite thing. There's a little rolly wheel. You put chalk refills in it. It's the same as the regular chalk, but it's plastic. For nice dresses and anything silk, use a chalky chalk, not a waxy one. Sometimes when you press the waxy ones, they'll leave a mark that looks oily. I bought this item at www.brewersewing.com. Check them out. They have lots of useful sewing supplies like this one. And then we just repeat on all 4 seams. So now that we have our marks, we're just going to stitch right on that chalk line. Stitch on your chalk lines and remove the old stitches. You can adjust the stitch length so that it will match the stitches that were already there from the manufacturer. I used a smaller needle so that it would fit better with the fabric. If you have a thicker fabric, increase your needle size. After you take in the left and right side seams, you have to do the same thing for the lining. Okay. We're going to trim the excess fabric, leaving about a ½ inch. And then press. I like to press it to one side before I press it open. Then you repeat on the other side and on both sides of the lining. Now that our seams are pressed open, we just put everything back together. Stitch your side seams together with the seams of the skirt. So my skirt's pleated, so it's pretty easy to just kind of tuck it back into the pleats. And if your skirt is gathered, you can kind of do the same thing. But if you have just a straight skirt, sometimes you'll have to take in a little at the waist to make the seams meet. Tailoring to me was always just puzzles. Take apart and put back together. Now we put everything back together. I like to pin my 2 side seams together and then stitch on the skirt side so that I can follow the seam where it used to lie. Now we need to reattach the armhole to the armhole of the lining. Depending on how much was taken in, you may need to reshape the armhole slightly. So because I took in enough at the armhole, the seams don't quite match, but that's okay because we're just going to reshape it a little bit and no one will ever know. One thing you do have to think about, there's a top stitch that you have to take off before you can put the armhole back. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of problems and it won't lay smooth. So just take off the top stitch from around the edges where the opening is. So then it's open. And go back on the inside. And we'll just reshape this line. As long as you create a smooth curve, no one will ever know you took it in. So technically, if you're running late for your party, you can go ahead and go, but there are a couple of finishing steps that make it look a lot nicer. We'll put the top stitch back. Once you've put the top stitches back, iron them for the perfect finished look. And that's all. Go and dance the night away. Stay tuned for more tips and tricks by the 7th Bone Tailors on weallsew.com. Thanks for watching.